I always thought Pokemon was just a matter of fun and games. However, something has changed my mind to the point where I never want to pick up a video game again. It all goes back to a couple of days ago. My parents and I live in a huge mansion. My parents usually aren't around due to business, but I'm old enough to take care of myself. Besides, I have some friends that I played Pokemon with all the time. Sometimes when I played my games, strange things would happen. Sometimes certain Pokemon would randomly appear in the game, even though they don't appear in a certain route. I think it was because I live near a cemetery, and there are spirits that love messing with me and my surroundings, like my furniture and television. They really love messing with my toys and video games though, since I paid a lot of attention to those. I never really minded. They were really friendly most of the time and never did anything harmful in my game. I've come to like some of them a lot. Sometimes when messing with my game, they gave away their name if they came to trust me enough. However, there was one new ghost that changed everything. Recently, a young girl, only a couple of years younger than me, had died. She was buried in the cemetery near where I live. I always felt really sad whenever someone died, and I always attended the funerals whenever I could. This funeral was no different, except there weren't many family members there, just the girl's parents and a couple of others. Her parents didn't even look upset in any way. If anything, they looked like they were about to throw up. I went over and asked them if they were alright, but they just told me to go away. Feeling a little insulted, I decided to leave soon after the body was buried. I almost forgot to mention, my parents attended the girl's wake with me, but for some reason, they wouldn't let me see her body. I got a bit upset because they never had said I couldn't before. However, they seemed extremely concerned, so I decided not to argue. Around this time, I had been aiming to get a Skyform Shaman, considering it was on my favorite Pokemon. I had caught a wild shaman using the Pokemon modifier cheat code. I had no idea what to name it. I thought back, and I remembered the name of the girl that had died recently. Sky. It fit almost too well for a shaman that I planned to get into Sky form. I put in the name. Since it was going to fly in Sky form, I taught it fly using the learnetm/HM code. I figured since I was going to keep it in Sky form 24/7, it would work fine. I opened up the menu and got Sky to fly. I chose Floroma Town, home of the Gracidia flower. I moved my character and talked to the blind NPC who was supposed to give me the Gracidia flower. I didn't realize you needed the Oak's letter event to get the Gracidia, so I was wondering what went wrong. Eventually I gave up, and I was stuck with a flying landform shaman. It was odd, and she never grew on me. She just flew me from place to place. Nothing special happened. Eventually, after I had grown tired of Pokemon Platinum and traded every good Pokemon I had to Pokemon Heart Gold. The Pokemon just sat in my PC for the most part, but eventually I looked in the PC box and noticed how many cheated Pokemon I had. I realized I had 2 Shamans. I didn't want 2, so I randomly chose one and released it. That Shaman was Sky. Now this is where things really get weird. My parents were gone again, so I was feeling lonely. So I started up Heart Gold, hoping someone would mess with it. And boy, someone would mess with it alright. When I started up Heart Gold, I got a message. The save file has been corrupt. Please. The rest of the message was covered in glitch blocks and couldn't be read. I tried looking for hidden messages. The glitch blocks were yellow. I tried to think of what that meant. Then I realized it was the same color as the icon when you start up Pokemon Platinum. Assuming this ghost wanted me to play Platinum, I grabbed the cartridge and started it up. I started in Floroma Town. It was nighttime in the game, even though it was still light outside. I thought nothing of it, considering this was a normal thing that happened when ghosts played with my game. I was facing the blonde girl who gives you the Gracidia. I tried walking away, but there seemed to be invisible walls. I caught on quickly and realized I was supposed to talk to the girl, so I did just that. She said something other than her normal text. She was an outcast. No one liked her for who she was, so she changed. I had to admit, I was a little confused by this. My friends had always had friendly little dialogue changes, nothing dark and depressing. At the same time, though, I could tell from this that the ghost messing with my game was trying to tell me something, so I continued playing. I was capable of moving again, so I decided to talk to the other NPCs and see if they had anything interesting to say. None of them had anything out of the ordinary to say. However, when I tried to leave town, there was an invisible wall on both exits. I decided to go to the Pokemon Center to get a Pokemon that could fly. When I entered the Pokemon Center, I heard a stare sound effect, and I was taken to what looked like the inside of a house. There was a brown-haired girl in the middle of the house, surrounded by Pokemon dolls. The girl's face was extremely pixelated, and I couldn't make out any specific features at all. I went up and talked to her, but all she said was a bunch of glitched blocks. I couldn't figure out any meaning to them. I decided there was nothing important here, so I walked out of the house. I was back outside the Pokemon Center, but as soon as I walked out, there was a sickening crack that played on my speakers. Startled by the noise, I rushed inside to see what happened. To my surprise, I didn't end up in the house. I was in Floroma Meadows. There were no lodges, however. It was just a big open field. I paid close attention, and I noticed some flowers were missing. They spelled out two simple words. I'm sorry. I had no idea what this had meant. Maybe this ghost wanted to apologize to someone who was still alive? I couldn't think of a logical explanation at the time. I went down the meadows and left. The game played the stairs sound effect again, and I was taken to the start of Seabreak Path. Seabreak Path didn't connect with Route 224, so I decided to go forward. However, on the ledge where the path was supposed to lead to Route 224, there was a Skyform Shaman overworld sprite. However, something felt off about it. Its body looked limp. I started feeling a little nervous, so I walked away from it. I was walking for a while until I noticed an item on the path. I obtained the item and got a Master Ball. I figured I was going to need to catch a Shaman here, which I found odd because I heard Shaman doesn't appear in Flower Paradise without the Oaks letter, but I excused it, considering the fact that this kind of thing wasn't normal anyway. I continued moving forward until I made it to Flower Paradise. When I made it there were no flowers there at all. It wasn't even called Flower Paradise. It was just a blank space where the name should have been. I walked up to where the Shaman was, and I was horrified to see what I did. The Shaman was there, but it had Skyform ears, flower, and front legs. The legs and ears were bleeding where they were attached. I couldn't see any other details due to sprite limitations. I wanted to turn the game off right away, but my respect for the dead told me it was happening for a reason, and I needed to find out what. After an inner argument with myself, I talked to the Shaman. It actually said words, instead of gibberish meant to sound like a shaman saying its name. I remember you. And then a battle started. Now its sprite showed in battle. I could see closer details. It had what looked like a noose tied around its neck. Its eyes had no pupils at all, like they had been rolled to the back of its head. It had Skyform ears, a Skyform flower, front legs, and tail. The back legs looked painfully stretched to meet the length of the front legs. Its cry sounded like a landform shaman and a Skyform shaman's cry played at the same time. However, the thing that disturbed me the most was what its name was. Sky revealed herself. Just from that, I knew who was haunting my game. The girl that died a couple months back. The one that was recently buried at the cemetery where I live. I had nearly forgot about her. At first, I was too surprised to do anything, but then I finally paid attention to the battle. My Pokemon were missing. I didn't send out anything. My trainer's sprite just stood there. I didn't want to choose fight because I had a bad feeling the shaman would fight back, or something and attack my trainer. I chose the Pokemon option. A text box appeared. They all left you. I figured running would result in something just as bad as fighting it, so I went to my bag and chose the only item in it, the Master Ball. It caught Sky easily, and there wasn't any happy music for catching her. I returned to the overworld. Sky was still there. A text box appeared. Sky hugged your leg. Sky loves you. At this point, I was getting really disturbed. I didn't want to continue, but I felt that I needed to. I told myself Sky was doing this for a reason, even if it seemed really freaky to me. With that, I decided to press on. However, there wasn't really anywhere to press on. The bridge of flowers was cut off. Remembering the shaman named Sky I had released had Fly, I checked the Sky summary. Thankfully, she did have Fly as one of her moves. To my surprise, she had another move as well. She knew Scary Face. I wondered what this had meant, but I decided to figure it out later and close out of Sky's summary. I didn't want to stay on this island forever, so I chose Fly. I didn't even pay attention to where I chose, I just wanted to get away from the island. Maybe get to a PC and release this thing. Sky doesn't think she can fly. She tried. I sighed. I should have expected that. I closed out of the menu. Sky was in front of me again. I talked to her. I love you. You cared. But I won't let you leave. The pixels had started glitching. And you. The game started glitching even more. The music froze and continued playing a single long note. I realized that the game had actually froze. I turned the game off, but something tempted me to turn it back on. Something told me that Sky's business wasn't done with me. However, after the last couple of things she had said, I felt really disturbed. I didn't know if she was trying to mess with my head and pretend she was the shaman so that I'd get emotionally attached to it, or if it was something else. I kept stressing out about it until I got so fed up that I turned the game back on. Maybe I'd get more answers if I pressed on. Maybe she'd leave me alone. The title screen didn't show. It just sent me straight to the menu where I chose Continue. Flower Paradise wasn't there. My trainer was just standing in darkness. The Sky was standing in front of me, as if waiting. I talked to her. I feel alive now. Sky's cry had played. I can fly now. I wondered if that meant I could fly out of this black area. I opened the menu and tried flying, but a message had appeared. Sky tried to fly. There was nowhere to fly to. I groaned. I wanted to get this over with. I closed out of the menu. I didn't bother seeing if I could move around. I couldn't move left or right, but surprisingly, I was capable of walking down, so I held down the B button and ran for it, just to see where it would lead. I barely started running when a text box came up. Where are you going? I started running again. It lasted a little longer, but another text box came up. Come back. I just kept running. I'm not sure why, but something just told me to. However, I ended up regretting not turning back. Come back! I need you! Sky's cry played really loud beyond my speakers. I was really shaken by how loud it was that I lost train of thought for a second. I had stopped running, but when I did, Sky walked up to me. My trainer automatically faced her. They never cared. You don't care either. For some reason, it gave me a yes or no answer. I was still honestly scared out of my wits on how desperate she was, but I still felt like I cared. I have respect for the dead after all, so I chose no, denying that I didn't care. Liar. I felt slightly insulted that she would accuse me of lying. Do you care? Another option. I chose yes. Do you love me? I didn't know how to respond to that. I barely knew her at all. I cared, but I couldn't say I loved her or anything. I chose no. You're just like the others. I'll make you love me. You're mine now. You're mine forever. The game had crashed, and I was forced to turn it off. I quickly hid the DS and curled up on my bed. I couldn't sleep at all that night. I knew she was still there, watching me. I could feel her presence there. I just waited until my parents got home, which was really late. However, the moment I heard them come home, I rushed over and hugged both of them. They were really mad at me staying up late, but I didn't care. There was one thing that I wanted to ask them. I asked them why they wouldn't let me see Sky's body. They were wondering why I was asking this out of nowhere, asked I asked them to answer the question anyways. They returned my hug, and Mom said she didn't want the same thing to happen to me. I didn't understand what that had meant, so I decided to stop stressing about it. Instead, I stressed over something else and asked them one more thing. I asked them if we could move somewhere really far away. My parents said that we'd be stuck for this mansion for a long time. A really long time. Maybe for the rest of their lives, they added. I fought back tears as I went back to my room. I knew for a fact I was never picking up my DS again. I stumbled back to my bed, and I just wanted to curl up and go to sleep. But at the same time, I had a bad feeling, as if something would happen if I did. After tossing and turning a bit, I noticed my DS was under my pillow. The screen was dimly lit, but there was a message there. This will be our little secret, okay?